Welcome back everyone, Mirai here, and in today's video we are going over the price of Bitcoin. So, I made a video about a month ago. I offloaded some Bitcoin for an average price of $97,000. And yes, Bitcoin surpassed that, went up to about 107. And I did not panic. I did not panic buy and try to chase the market. I was able to find some patience, and that takes many years after being in the Bitcoin space. So Bitcoin currently sitting at $94,247. So we're going to take a deep dive on Bitcoin today, see how I am seeing the charts and what my game plan is moving forward. So this right here is the daily chart on Bitcoin. So one of the simplest things to see in charts is to just simply look left. For example, I had this line drawn here at about just under $92,000. I drew that line months and months. And months ago, oh wait, excuse me, no, I'm thinking about other lines on my chart. I apologize. So, I drew these over here back in November when we saw Bitcoin resisting that level many times. And as you can see here, back in November, that level was resistance. Okay, Bitcoin had a hard time getting over that. It got past it, it came back down, it tried again the next day, 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 and the next day. It finally broke through. But what ended up happening after that is that it served as support. So what often happens in trading is that resistance flips into support. So you can see here that on November 26th, that same point, that same price level that was resistance, then turned into support. And then support again. And then support again. And again. And this is the most important thing. So what tends to happen over time is that you can draw a level like this. And every time it gets touched, or in this case, this wick, I would also consider that a touch, it is basically weakened over time. So obviously it acted as support here. This next time here, it's still quite a strong support. But after it hits here, and it hits here, this is considered a weaker level of support. So what am I anticipating moving forward? One of two things. I think that we slow bleed down into this level, and I don't really anticipate us to break through it quickly, but I think we will eventually likely at least wick below this level of just under $92,000. I also think it's likely that we maybe shoot up to maybe this range over here, just under 100, and then we go back down into that range. So one thing that will happen, whether it's now or in January or some point over the next year, is I believe that Bitcoin will have to retest and find support over in the $70,000 range. If you see Bitcoin went from about 72,000 up to this $92,000 range in a very short period of time, essentially about a week or so, right? This is November 7th, and over here is the 15th. So in about 1 week, Bitcoin had that massive rise. But what needs to happen over time is what is going to happen over time is Bitcoin will come and retest this level of 70. This can happen as far out as after Bitcoin has hit its new all-time high and the bear market begins. Because you could see here that this was resistance for a long time, this range here. Look at all the times that Bitcoin could not break above that level, and then it finally broke above. But what the problem is here is that we broke above 70, and we basically sprinted to 90, and there is no support between 90 and 70. And Bitcoin will have to retest those levels at some point. When does that happen? I don't have a magic ball, but it will eventually happen. 100%. Honestly, I don't say that too often, but 100%. it's going to happen. So what is my particular game plan? I have all that cash on the sidelines waiting to jump back in. But when to jump back in? So I will probably pick up a little bit of Bitcoin in that $92,000 range as just an insurance policy and to not be too greedy. I mean, selling off at 97 and buying off at 92, it's not a massive win, but it's something. And so I will, this is a market where I would prefer to have cash on the sidelines, and demonstrating patience has been absolutely massive. So this right here is the daily on Bitcoin, and we clearly did not make a higher high. And let's go ahead and take a look here at the 12-hour. So as you can see here, what I was seeing yesterday, specifically on the 4-hour, but you can kind of see it here a little bit on the 12-hour, is a bit of a flag out, a bear flag. So what I'm seeing on Bitcoin, specifically here on this 12-hour chart, is a bear flag. So for those of you that are not familiar with the bear flag, basically it's a line here. This is basically a flag. It's like the pole of the flag itself. This to me looks like a bear flag. If it was in the opposite direction, so let me give you an example here. Like over here would be a little bit, I would say, a bull flag, right? This is like the pole. You can see Bitcoin kind of ranging in there, and then it breaks out. So this right here looks very bearish to me. And so I would be keeping a close eye here to see if Bitcoin breaks below that current line there. Let's take a look at the 4-hour. Basically, this is where I first saw the flag forming yesterday. I was about to make a video, but then my cousin's like, oh, you can come over if you want. And I'm just so bad at, if I have an opportunity to socialize, I'll take that any day over like work, essentially. So, very obvious bear flag on the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin. And that's why I believe we are definitely headed lower. 1-hour chart looks extremely weak here on Bitcoin. I would say in the next 3 days we're definitely retesting this level right here, at least 92.5. So Bitcoin might get a little bit boring the next few days going into the new year, maybe more volatility after that. Going into the weekend we might see a bit more boringness. Alright, so that is what I am seeing there on Bitcoin, and what I also wanted to do, which I thought would be helpful, because it's always nice to kind of like reflect back on previous bull markets, although one of these bull markets is going to kind of break the previous trends of things that we saw. When does that happen? I'm not sure. It feels like we're surprisingly close to many governments having Bitcoin reserves, which is really awesome, really cool, extremely bullish. So, let's go ahead and see here. So, this was when Bitcoin hit $20,000 for the first time, which would have been in December of 2017, which was the end of the year following the halving that happened in 2016. So then, in 2020, we also saw another halving, and as you can see, that Bitcoin peaked. Well, Bitcoin did something interesting. So, 2020, there was a halving. Bitcoin had its first peak in April of 2021, the following year. So, we can see, the end of Q1, beginning of Q2 of 2025 being a very exciting time for Bitcoin. And obviously, this is what I'm talking about, that I'm anticipating to happen when it comes to the current price. As you can see, there was obviously that huge run-up from about 30,000 up to 56,000 in a pretty short period of time, nearly doubled. And Bitcoin just has to find support. And as you can see, it pulled back here. But then in 2021, Bitcoin had the all-time high of that bull market, which came in November. So typically, the end of the year following a halving is where we see Bitcoin having its all-time high. And so let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum. I don't check out Ethereum often. I'm way more focused on Bitcoin. But sometimes it's important to check out Ethereum because it tends to sometimes lead the way. Or we also have periods of time, which typically happen in January. It's been in the past where Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin in January. So let's go ahead and take a look here at the daily chart on Ethereum. As you can see, it's pulled back nicely to find some support in that range because it ran from 3,300 up to 4,000 pretty quickly. $700 run in a very short period of time has come back and found that support. So I really wouldn't be all that surprised if in the next month Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin. And that's why I have also taken into consideration to actually, with the cash that I have on the sidelines, buy back Ethereum and not Bitcoin, or maybe mix that up a little bit, not with really the intention of long-term holding, but more with the intention of short-term gains. So keep an eye out there. I definitely will not be surprised if that happens. So this is a 12-hour chart on Ethereum, which is looking a bit better than Bitcoin, I would say. Let's see, 4-hour chart here. It's also kind of flagging out a little bit. We drew a line here. Kind of flagging there. So something to kind of keep in mind as well. Let's take a look at the 1 hour. I would say the 1 hour on Ethereum looks stronger than Bitcoin. You know, like I'm saying, I really won't be that surprised if Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin in the next month. So eventually it's going to be altcoins' time to shine. And, you know, I feel like still people are all obsessed with XRP. And I had someone recently ask me about XRP. Bitcoin has surpassed its previous all-time highs. It's crushing, right? Well, poor little XRP is nowhere near its all-time high. It took place in January of 2018. So remember what I just said about Ethereum altcoins? January tends to be their time to shine. And as you can see here, it had a high of about $3.25. And it has not surpassed that all-time high. It's underperformed Bitcoin significantly. And when I think of Bitcoin going absolutely berserk, it's when the governments start buying, right? Government's in charge of the money printer, the Bitcoin reserve. They can print all the money, create massive inflation amongst whatever currency, whatever fiat currency, and buy up Bitcoin, and that's just going to drive the price insanely. There's only approximately 12% of all Bitcoins are on exchanges. And that's why we see these like really intense increases, is because there's not that much Bitcoin on exchanges. And over time, more and more people are taking their Bitcoin off of exchanges. There's just less opportunity to buy. So XRP, governments, I don't think, are really going to care about XRP. XRP has underperformed Bitcoin. I think it will continue to underperform Bitcoin. It will have its short bursts of like really nice gains, which, you know, happened here. But is this price action really sustainable? Buy up the XRP all you want. You know, you could do well in the next year or so, but I'd just rather have Bitcoin because most people do not have the ability to enter and exit at appropriate times. So that is what I am seeing there on the current price, and kind of told you guys my game plan, and going to just be keeping a close eye and making decisions as I see fit moving forward. I'll probably take a little bit more of a deeper dive. Maybe on my next video I'll kind of go into flipping into Ethereum versus going back into Bitcoin for a better percentage gain in the short term. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it helpful. That's all that I have for you today. As always, go out there and create a portfolio that you love.